Thanks everyone for joining Let's Start a Business, episode 8. In today's episode, I'm going to go behind the scenes of my week and how I balance freelance work, building a business, and my life in general. I think everything as an entrepreneur gets a little crazy because when you're in a 9 to 5, it's pretty structured. You know when you're going in, you know when your meetings are, you know who you're meeting, you know what you're meeting for. When you're an entrepreneur, you are responsible for keeping yourself motivated. You are responsible for your marketing. You're responsible for getting clients, working with your clients, making sure that you're doing good work for your clients. And then also everything else in between, from life and everything that it takes to run your business. All the admin stuff, billing, taxes, your Facebook page, if you have a website, updating your website, and all the legalities of it. If you have a new client, how are you onboarding them? How are you filling out those contracts? So there's a lot that goes into being an entrepreneur and running your own business, especially if you're doing it on your own. So let's go ahead and jump in. My typical week, I run Monday through Friday. Those are my core times. So on Monday morning, let me take a step back. On Sunday evening, I usually take about 15 to 30 minutes of my weekend and figure out what my goals are for the week. And the week before, I would have attended a networking event and had set up meetings for building relationships and potential clients that I can work with. My goal is to at least meet with 2 people a week to keep the relationships going, and then also just making sure that I'm interacting with other people. I work remotely, so keeping interactions and having communications is really important to me. To make sure that, one, I'm collaborating with other individuals and I'm not just sitting at my desk, but also it builds that creativity. So on Sunday, I see what meetings I've already scheduled. Usually it's top of mind, like networking. Who do I have that I'm networking with? And then I will block some time off for let's say, for example, I have 2 people that I'm meeting. I will block time off to make sure that I'm understanding what that individual's business is. When was their last post that they made, to see what types of engagements they have, and how, as me as an individual, how can I contribute to them? At this point, I'm not trying to sell them anything. I'm trying to just build a rapport. Again, even if I have a client a client relationship that I've built and I'm working with them already, I still like leading with that relationship first. I think it's really important to continue that. Sorry, my dog's scratching in the background, and I'm not recording this. So as I always say in my videos, I'm sorry for any background noises in the in the background. I have 2 dogs, and they are very active and very much a heavily part of my life. So you probably just heard Cooper in the background shaking and scratching, so apologies on that. But once I get done understanding who the client is I'm meeting with, essentially getting that first agenda item started, so that on Monday morning I have who I'm reaching out to and who I'm meeting. So then on Monday morning, if I have no client meetings, then what I will do is my sole purpose will be outreach. I have already compiled the list of individuals that I'm going to meet with, I'm going to reach out to, understand why I'm reaching out to them, and if it's fitting within the niche that the community that I'm trying to build. Relationships are always important in business. not just for referrals or anything, but just when I think one thing that's wonderful about a 9 to 5 or a 8 to 4, whatever, is that you have colleagues that you can collaborate with. When you're a sole entrepreneur, if you don't have that community, if you haven't built that community, your ideas can go stale. And it's just, for at least for me, it's really important that I build that community and that I have people that I can reach out to and kind of collaborate with. And it really, you meet so many unique individuals. I know I've talked about networking quite a bit, but as a sole entrepreneur, that is really essential for not only just building business and keeping business, but also, staying creative. So let's get back to Monday. Monday, I would have already had that list of individuals that I'm going to reach out to. I'm going to at least target 5 to 10 individuals that I'm going to reach out to on Monday. And I usually try to handle that in the morning. In addition, and my day usually starts earlier. It usually starts around 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. I'm going to check my social media post to make sure that it's activated, that it is the right one that I've activated. I usually do a bulk social media post, but I want to make sure that my social posts are correct and it's what I had planned for that week. I'm still in the midst of trying to get my social media down, but as of right now, I'm just trying to be consistent. I post on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Again, it's not perfect, but consistency for right now is what is most important to me. So Monday morning, I will send out any networking emails that I'm trying to connect with for individuals that I want to build a relationship with. And then I will also check my social media post. And my social media posts go out at 10 a.m. Before that post actually goes live, I try to interact on LinkedIn. I have a couple of social media platforms that I post on. So within that half an hour before those posts go live, I try to find individuals that I want to build a relationship with. I try to comment on their post and engage with it. And that's pretty much my morning, is between networking. If I have no client calls, I'm networking, sending out networking emails, making sure that my LinkedIn or my social posts are what I actually meant to post, and just making sure that everything's good to go. And then before my social post goes live, I am engaging with other individuals at that time. And then in addition to that, it's going to be, if I'm not fully stacked with all the client loads that I need, then I may do some outreach for individuals that are looking for my type of services. And I may reach out to them, and it's just that continuing networking. Monday is very heavy on networking. And then also, I try to do, like if I have a workshop or if I have ideas for a workshop, I may try to fit that in the morning or the afternoon. And then based off of kind of what the outcomes of that day, that's how my afternoon kind of goes, is directed. So if I have, let's say that I've sent out some requests for networking, I may end up engaging with those individuals that day, and kind of the flow goes from there. And Tuesday looks very similar except for the social media post. If I have client work during the time, my client work is usually in the mornings. I'm usually meeting with the teams and making sure that everything is good to go. If I'm doing one-on-one coaching, then it's a little bit more flexible. I can meet with my clients based on their availability. So it could be in the morning or in the afternoons. I try to keep some of my afternoons free so that I'm not overloading myself. I like to have a little bit of a gap. And then there's also on Monday and Tuesday, I'm making sure that I have focus time scheduled and I have my lunch scheduled. Everything is I'm very tactical about where I'm spending my time and my energy. And then when Wednesday comes around, Wednesday, again, if I have clients, I meet with my clients, and then it'll usually be following up. Maybe I will work on some social media. Usually Wednesday is pretty free. That's my creative day. That is the day that I try to get my creative juices going, I guess, for any type of social media that I want to do or plan for. Again, I'm still working on that, but I have some exciting stuff coming up, so I'm working on it. And then it's kind of the same thing. It's just rotating. If usually by time Wednesday and Thursday rolls around, I'm getting a little bit more engagement from people that I'm trying to network with. I may have set meetings up with them earlier or later in the week if they have the time. The other thing I try to do is I try to go to networking events, virtually or in person, so that I'm building that rapport with those individuals, especially in the industries that I'm trying to niche into. I try to make sure that I'm collaborating with people within those industries and not having such a wide scale net, because if I have a wide scale net, then it's almost impossible to, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it makes it very difficult for me to stay organized. Where if I niche it down into like a specific industry, for example, I'm targeting cannabis, educational technology, and advertising. Advertising is kind of, I know, very broad, but I can go into that a little later if anybody's interested. But those are kind of my 3 industry targets, and I have a specific number of employees that are in those industries, because I know for myself, working with X amount of people within an organization makes me feel that I'm actually I have more control over the client, or I shouldn't say control, but I have more liberties in the clients that I work with, and I feel that the relationship is better. And it makes me feel that it makes me happy, I guess. There's a certain amount of employees that I see within a company, and if it gets too large, I don't feel like I'm a contributor. I feel like I'm just a number. So working with a smaller organization, so entrepreneurs and creators, really gives me that passion to make sure that I'm providing a wonderful service to my customers. Sorry, I know I went on a tangent, but just wanted to give you a little bit more information there. And then Fridays are my admin days. Those are going, I'll have client meetings, but then I try to keep my afternoons, I try to wrap up any client meetings by either 12 or 3. Most times it doesn't happen that way, but my goal is always to try to wrap up any meetings by 12 p.m. And then from 12 p.m. until 3, I work on any administration stuff that I need to get done for my business. Any billing, if there's any client documentation that I need to do, that's essentially where I do it there. And then I also, I use a project management tool. I was using ClickUp, but I'm actually changed it out for something else that I'm dabbling with, which I will, if I'm happy with, I will talk about it at a later time. But essentially Fridays where I'm reviewing everything. I work off of weekly weekly sprints. I don't do every 2 weeks. I get more accomplished in weekly sprints for my business, so that on Friday I check what was accomplished, and then I start refining I start bringing other things into the week that's going to be coming, so that I know what I'm working on. And that'll be part of my Sunday review. And again, Sunday is only half an hour, maybe an hour max, but I try to keep my weekend free. And then I might do some self-learning as well. I have a LinkedIn Premium, so I definitely use that resource. I have Udemy, which I probably need to get better use out of. I actually use LinkedIn Premium or LinkedIn Learning a lot more than I use Udemy, but I try to get some type of learning in, or I go to a workshop during the week. So that kind of sums up where my energy and my target is. And then of course, I don't tend to stick to like the 9 to 5. My mornings again start pretty early, so I may start at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and I may work until 3 p.m. Or maybe I do work until 5, or maybe my day is kind of I start later. Maybe I start at 10 and then I take a couple hours break, and then maybe I'm working from 8 to 10 p.m. So there's not a fixed schedule, but I have fixed tasks that I do throughout the week to make sure that I'm staying on point and on target for what I need to accomplish. Again, there's a lot of other things that go into that, but that's pretty much the gist of the day in the life of what I'm building or what I'm working on. It's not glamorous, it's not pretty. Sometimes it is a 12-14 hour day, but I feel passionate about what I'm building, and I feel that it's something that I'm nurturing and building, if that makes at all any sense. I think when you own your own business, it's it's scary, and you don't know how it's going to turn out. But at the end of the day or end of the month, and you look at what you've accomplished, it's very self-fulfilling. And I think kind of having that type of system in place is important, because looking back and seeing what I've accomplished gives me that overall view of, oh, okay, I'm not just spinning my wheels and wasting time. I'm actually accomplishing what I've set out to accomplish. So anyway, thank you all for joining this episode. I hope it gave you guys a little bit of a glimpse of what an entrepreneur's workday may look like. Again, every entrepreneur's journey and day is going to look different from another entrepreneur's journey. But this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. So if you like what you heard, please subscribe. Give a thumbs up. I appreciate you all. Have a good one. Bye.